Imagine if every NFL decision was tracked on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, anything Roger Goodell-related would be a 0 across the board. But what about the Ken Dorsey firing? The audience score would probably be around 100%, considering the fans were fuming over what they characterized as an unimaginative offense. On the other hand, the critics didn't certify the Dorsey firing as fresh. In fact, if I had to guess, it was probably closer to a Morbius than a Parasite. Obviously, because most of them pointed to the fact that the real culprit for this top 5 offense struggling was the turnovers. Thanks to last Sunday's pantsing of the New York Jets, where the Bills' offense exploded for 30 points against a top-ranked defense, Bills Mafia is feeling themselves a little bit and thinking, what the fuck did the critics know? Morbius was fucking awesome. But I think both sides actually missed what the real problem was. The team didn't need more creativity. It didn't need less turnovers. It needed a vibe check. So let's talk about why the Bills needed a vibe shift, how the very real science behind vibes saved their season, and whether other teams like the Chargers should follow suit. Technically, I'm not the only one who thinks the Bills needed a spiritual kick to the head of sorts. Stephen Ruiz of The Ringer wrote, "The offense passed a crucial vibes check in Brady's first crack at calling the plays." Though he was being tongue-in-cheek, later adding that the team's success was really because they limited turnovers and the defense played better. I know this seems sensible. The Bills turn over the ball less, which gives the other teams less chances to score, and better field position from the defense makes it easier for the Bills to score. I just think it's too pat. Basically saying the law of averages kicked in, nothing to see here, pay no mind to the irrational firing of Dorsey. But that's the thing. What if it wasn't irrational? What if for all the reasonable things to happen, the vibe at Orchard Park had to change? I know what you're thinking. What even is a vibe? It is difficult to define. The definition vacillates somewhere between intangible and irrational, a feeling that feels real, but can only be described as a tone or an energy or an aura if you're a crystal mommy. But some argue vibes are very much tangible, and there's real science to back that up. In the article, How Real Are Vibes? The Good and the Bad by Heidi Moad, Moad points out how the science of vibes is actually the study of emotional residue. From the sticky word choice, you could probably guess what it means, but just in case, emotional residue considers whether an environment or setting contains vestiges of previous emotions. It's kind of like body odor meets emotional IQ. The methods that scientists use in the study of emotional residue reminds one of Ghostbusters. But instead of using an oroscope, they track something called a chemosignal. These are the chemicals found in tears and sweat. The studies found that respondents responded to fearful body odor with fear and happy body odor with more happiness. In a way, these studies show that emotional residue sticks around like ghosts. If you think about it, if anything, a better term for it would have been chemighosts. Anyways, if chemighosts do indeed linger in an environment, I can't think of one more rife with paranormal BO than Orchard Park. Let's consider for a second the reactions of some of the Bills players post-firing. For example, Bills receiver Khalil Shakir was effusive in his post-game press conference, saying how the energy was contagious tonight. And it wasn't just him. Josh Allen ran the full field to celebrate with Shakir. Allen had been rather morose all year, but definitely didn't seem like it that night. And it wasn't just Allen. The Bills overall had seemed lifeless. And I don't think it was Ken Dorsey's fault. The team had gone through a lot over the course of the last year or so. Damar Hamlin almost dying, many Buffalonians dying during a snowstorm, a horrific mass shooting in a Buffalo grocery store. You can just imagine how badly it reeked in those lockers, all things considered. Also, according to Joe Buscaglia, a Bills beat reporter, Dorsey was liked by the players, and they took the firing personally even. So they weren't even smoking cigars like the Raiders did when Josh McDaniels got fired. But still, the players needed something to change. Something to stop reminding them of the bad times. Something that helped them leave some positive emotional residue around the building. And unfortunately for Dorsey, he was the straw dog. What the Bills have gone through is truly unique. But that's not to say every team has to go through the same material trauma that the Bills did in order to justify a change. Something like employing Matt Canada for years can bring about ghosts. But it can also be the emotional residue of mediocrity. Case in point, the LA Chargers. You could make the rational argument that hiring bad coaches is what has led to the years and years of poor results from the Chargers. And you would definitely be right. But they're not going to solve the problem by keeping a guy like Brandon Staley around. But it appears they're going to be doing it at least to the end of this year. Ian Rappaport, an NFL insider who shares an agent with Staley, said so basically on an appearance, though indirectly, but you know how that works. but I think keeping around is definitely a mistake because the vibes are very off. Now that I'm a professor of vibology, I've decided I also have ESPN, and I can look into the future. Pictured here is Justin Herbert 2 years from now, if things don't change soon. And I know what you're thinking, Justin Herbert's the kind of guy who keeps his head down, minds his own business. And all this Chargers dysfunction isn't going to cause wear and tear on him, but it's already happening before our eyes. Case in point, Herbert freaking out Tom Brady style at a center. If anything, I'd like to see more of that from him, but still, it was jarring seeing the best behaved quarterback of all time freaking out like that. Clearly something's off. And it's not just Herbo. The defensive players seem checked out and totally indifferent to Brandon Staley's coaching. Why wait till the end of the year? Of course, it's important to note that, like the case for the Bills and Steelers, there's no guarantee that doing so will result in a playoff appearance. The Bills at 6-5 definitely have a tough road ahead of them, but at least they did something, even if the odds are against them right now. And sure, you could argue what's the point of firing anyone, because similarly, the Chargers could regress to the mean. You could argue that Staley hasn't won thanks to bad luck in close games. That's what the laws of regression say. Maybe I'm being a real crystal mama here, but I just can't see it happening, not unless they do something drastic to change the mood around the Chargers and get that stench of Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and Brandon Staley out of there. Who knows if Kellen Moore is better, but why not give it a shot at this point? In times like these, you don't need an analytics team. You need a ghost hunter. So let me know what you think. Are vibes real? And do they apply to the performance of your favorite sports team? Leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and pass it around if you can. Thanks for watching.